So one thing you have to start to look at is then where do men start to, or where do men continue to find these building blocks, right? To create the worth inside of themselves. For me, one thing has been through other men, right? And even like you're saying, shoulder to shoulder, like experiences that I've had that have been the best. Like even when I used to go to Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu and take classes there, it was really amazing because you're in this physical space, but also there's so much mutual respect in there. Yeah. It's not people trying to beat each other up. It's trying to help each other physically learn how to take care of themselves, right?
Yeah.
But with that, there's so much camaraderie and love and compassion that comes along with having great instructors. And a lot of times it's just the guy next to you who's your best instructor for the next moment. Recovery meetings, I go to recovery meetings for intimacy and AA. And those meetings for me are really great. Especially the intimacy ones, like where, they call it like sex and love addiction and stuff, but it's really just like intimacy disorders or connection disorders or it's almost just low self-worth. It's all of that. And sometimes you base it off of your relationship with women, or you can look at your relationship with women to see how you're doing on your own.
And are there men and women in those groups, or is it just men?
A lot of the ones I go to are just men. And it's not that I don't want women in them. It's just like I want a space where it's just men. I can be able to share openly if I'm struggling with a certain thing or how I'm feeling, or and it just be other men. It just feels and then you're not trying to like slurp on any of the chicks that are in there either. You're not trying to flirt or anything. You're just,
which would seem bad given the nature of the problems that many of the men have.
And you'll be shocked.
It'd be like holding an AA meeting in a bar or something.
Yeah,
I understand that.
Yeah, so
but you're getting male solidarity from both.
That's
of those
what you're getting,
places.
and that's one of the reasons I go. I go to hear other men share. I go to share, and sometimes they'll say something, and like my body will just go like that. Right? It's like
your shoulders drop, you breathe. It's
an exhale that I didn't even know I needed to take.
Yeah.
It's an exhale that has just been running in the back of my subconscious for sometimes decades, sometimes hours, sometimes years, minutes. But it's something that I needed to hear. I needed to hear everything was okay.
Yeah.
And I needed to hear another man's voice say it.
Yeah.
And it helps. It helps.
Yeah, it's interesting. Well, thank you for sharing that.
Yeah, you're welcome. What spaces are there for men? Like
it's something beautiful about that, I think. And I go back to my story about the hut, like in the bottom of the slate mine. It's like there's something.
Oh yeah, there's something nice about it.
Beautiful. It's quite fragile. I think that male friendships take work. I think we sometimes don't pay enough attention to them. It's actually something like I go on road trips with my best friend. Also, every year I get together with my male buddies, and we go hiking so that we're shoulder to shoulder, and just talk and catch up. And that's, I think, one of the damaging trends in recent years has been a suspicion of male spaces, right? Of like the boys' weekend. Or even some of the institutions. So if you actually go through the institutions now, like the Boy Scouts is not the Boy Scouts anymore. I'm actually a scout leader. I'm not doing as much now, but I used to run a scout group over in the UK, and I was a scout. But it's co-ed now.
Boy Scouts is co-ed?
It's Scouting for America now.
And what is Girl Scouts? Or they just joined forces?
No, Girl Scouts is still Girl Scouts.
No.
Yeah.
And we can't go over there?
The Girl Scouts does not allow boys in.
Wow.
But Boy Scouts has become Scouting for America.
Ladies, that's not even
But there's
cool.
a pattern here. You've got the YMCA is now co-ed, right? Well, no one really thinks about the M in YMCA anymore.
That's a good point, huh?
Right? Whereas the YWCA, still very kind of focused on women. Boys and girls clubs used to be boys clubs. I think there's one other one I'm thinking of. And it's not that it's always bad for things to be co-ed. It's not that you also don't want institutions for girls and women. But what we've got now is a situation where we're actually really very often applauding having these spaces for girls and kind of women to have female solidarity, work together, grow together. But we're really suspicious if it's men doing it. And I get why, right, because of our history. But I think that as a result, we've actually deconstructed a lot of these institutions where actually boys could learn from other boys and from men and so on too. And so I think that turning the Boy Scouts into Scouting for America and taking, not for it being, I think we'll look back on that and just say That was a bad decision.
Kind of emasculating in a way.
It's just like, why can't, I mean, I just think about my own experience.
Why can't we meet?
And it's not like I went to a co-ed high school, but actually the fact that I was able to go to scouts and there would be guys there and we could learn from each other. And weirdly, I actually think that male spaces are where you can help men to learn some of the not traditionally male attributes like caring and nurturing and love and expressing that stuff. It's just easier, right?
Yeah,
or a
for
male
sure.
sports team, right? Like you're learning love, you're learning comradeship, you're learning solidarity,
Teamwork.
you're learning, exactly. And I just think that's a bit, and it probably is true for girls too,
Yeah.
that kind of learning some of those skills that maybe go against the stereotype about girls, like learning to be more assertive maybe, or competitive, etc. Like you generally don't have to encourage a bunch of boys to compete with each other.
Right.
They just tends to be a bit more baked in, right?
It's in the nature.
Yeah.
Yeah, and there should be spaces where it's like, hey, men can meet up here tonight. And they used to have more of them. There was like more American Legions. There was more like VFWs. But a lot of that was military-based type stuff.
It was.
And since we haven't had that large of a war, you know, I know we have conflicts and we've had some smaller wars, but I know we haven't, since we haven't had such a huge conflict, there hasn't been that big band of brothers type of vibe that's brought men together so much.